What is going on, guys? Welcome to Dead Walking Sunday, where I am joined by the lovely Theokayesttaylor. What's going on, Taylor?
I am doing really good. I'm excited that we can actually talk about it the night of.
Exactly. So we are talking about, of course, season 8, episode 2, The Damned of The Walking Dead. And no, there's gonna be spoilers in this one this time around, and then I'll do a non-spoiler review after this. But spoilers for anybody who's hasn't seen The Walking Dead tonight's episode yet. But man, I mean, we got to talk about it because I think this was a little bit. I think this was better than last weekend's episode. A little bit more things going on, a little more action, but also that big kind of reveal at the end of the episode really got my motors going. I'm like, yes, like we're all waiting for this one particular moment to happen throughout the seasons, and here it was. What do you think, Taylor? How was this episode tonight?
Compared to last Sunday's episode, I actually liked this one. The reveal at the end, obviously, it kind of gave me something that I was hoping for, because in previous seasons, a lot of stuff, important stuff had happened and some stuff not so important. But it seems in this episode, they just decided to go back into previous seasons, which is something that doesn't really happen. So that kind of got me stoked.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a little bit of non-spoiler right now before we get into the spoilers. Um, just this episode felt a lot more like there was a lot more compelling scenes. There's a lot more kind of in your face kind of moments in this episode. But I think what really kind of dragged this episode down for me was the sci-fi kind of direction of the episode. It was not what I mean by sci-fi. I mean like the sci-fi channel, where it just some of these directions, some of the shots, they looked a little bit amateurish. Where I wanted a little bit more of a great, like kind of like Breaking Bad. Every episode seems like somebody who's behind the camera is making this visually stunning and stylizing it, but moving the story forward. Well, in the very beginning of this episode, I felt like it was just kind of just showcasing, like, ooh, look at these pretty shots and stuff. And but the shots weren't that great where the camera angles were, and a lot of the running and shooting and all the action just it was a hit and miss for me.
Personally, I felt this episode was much faster paced. It seemed like there was a lot more planning involved, and I mean, everything just went, one thing after another, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it more. I still didn't think it was a 10 out of 10 episode, but I definitely enjoyed it more than last Sunday for sure.
Yeah, let's let's get into spoilers right now. Let's dig
Yeah.
right into it. So in the beginning, what confused me in this episode was the very opening shots where they're doing, again, not necessarily the timeline thing, but they're doing like a Tarantino thing where they're kind of jumbling a lot of the scenes. They're showcasing one scene, and then they'll explain to you why this particular scene was in the beginning. Towards the end of the episode, it was the shot where we have everybody face reactions, like something's bad has happened. You have Rick, you have Daryl's face, you have Carol's face, Carol on the ground. I'm like, what is Carol doing on the ground in the beginning of this episode? Like, what is going on? Like, in the beginning of the episode, the first like 25 first 15 minutes, I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I felt the same. I started to feel like everyone was in a really bad spot, and I was wondering, are they losing? And surprisingly, there was no Negan in this episode. I think it's the first time we just didn't really see Negan.
Yeah, and at first I was like, are they like kind of, is this the aftermath of the first episode where they kind of went back and everything? But that wasn't the case, because we do see later on in the episode, we see Rick. The moral of this is to get the guns, is to get
Yeah.
more guns, more weaponry, more ammo, and he has this list that Dwight gives him, of course, where everything is at. Um, and I'm ready to crack this open. I'm gonna crack this baby open. I got that Belgian Beaver milk stout. It's pretty
Hey,
good. Not as good as the Mexican peanut butter, but good. I'm gonna give a toast to my boy coming back, the original OG from season 1,
yeah.
Morales, baby, to Morales.
That really was a shocker. And there's a thing going around. It kind of became its own Walking Dead meme at some point, is what happened to Morales and the Morales family after the Atlanta campsite. And the moment that I saw him, I mean, I just knew from behind exactly who it was. And
Oh yeah.
I'm really wondering, what is his purpose now? But I'm really wondering if he's got like a revolutionary purpose or if it's fan service. I just didn't know how to take it in that moment.
It was crazy. Well, I kind of did. I didn't catch the last thing he said to Rick. So it seemed like he's with the Saviors, right? Or he told the Saviors to stand down. Is that what happened at the end of the
Well, here's the thing. We don't know about his family. We do know he's there. I'm gonna presume that he's there alone. Probably something happened to his family, but he had the walkie, I think it was. And I think Rick gave him a walkie and a gun way back when he said, I'm going to take my family. We're going to head out and see if we can find the rest of our family members and everything. And he said that he called the Saviors and they're on their way. And that's when you got that moment with Carol, Ezekiel, and the rest of the kingdom followers that, they're like, they know we're coming. Mm-hmm. And Ezekiel wanted to go ahead and charge in anyway. But that is an incredible revelation that, it's kind of like a Morgan 2.0. I mean, when Rick ran into Morgan again, there was a standoff between them. They're in different positions now in this world.
Yeah, and they're not as well. I can't say they're not as close as him. And well, now they're not as close,
right?
As Rick's relationship with Morgan, especially since Morgan has been with Rick even longer. But in the beginning, he wasn't. But it's good. I'm surprised they didn't use this for the first episode. To harken back for the 100th episode. To bring one of the OG characters back, and they used it for the second episode. That's the one thing I'm surprised about. But I'm not surprised to see Morales back in the fold, because I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of the fans, a lot of people were wondering where Morales is at. And I think, and then even the actor who plays Morales was putting out on Twitter and stuff, like pictures of him using a bat and Negan, killing Glenn with the bat. He's like, oh, how you defeat a villain with the bat, you get a good guy with the bat, because he uses a bat in season 1 when they were raided with those walkers in the campfire. But you know what? It just kind of like, it brings a smile to my face. There's something about it. There's something about Morales coming back. It's probably because it's so nostalgic. It's a character that's not even in the comic books, and he's just in the series, that's the television show, and just seeing him coming back and just seeing that, hey, you know what? We've lost so many of our original characters. We lost Andrea. We lost Dale. We lost a lot of these characters that are still kind of in the comics, or lasted longer in the comics. And just seeing kind of like somebody like Morales who left, and them kind of like bringing them back is just like, kudos to the Walking Dead, to the people who are running the Walking Dead, and bringing this character back, because I think that's a good move. I think it's a really good move. It brings a smile to my face, most definitely.
Well, it's a good form of storytelling to bring things full circle. I mean, when everything is going linear. I mean, imagine playing a video game, and the story is so linear, and you don't get the chance to go off and do different side things, or just kind of wander around and explore on your own, and just be stuck to this one linear playthrough. The Walking Dead was feeling like that for me. And to see this kind of refreshing episode, it kind of put a smile on my face.
Yeah, and then we don't know what Morales has been through, and we know what Rick's been through. But just, you're right, just them on the opposite kind of sides of each other, and just like kind of like this weird kind of like, oh, we're back, we're back, this fateful meeting once again. Like it brings so many questions on like what happened to you, Morales. And I think that's what makes me really want to see the next episode. And I think it's going to bring a lot of smile to a lot of people's faces, even though not necessarily the episode itself wasn't that great, but the big reveal was a really good one. And what really got me too, what I think they did a fantastic job in this episode that I got to give props for, is when he does kill the guy. When Rick kills the guy, when he's kind of searching through the house or searching through the compound or whatever, and it's revealed that there's a baby. So he was kind of protecting this, like, his daughter, or he's protecting this baby. And I thought that was kind of a crazy moment, like throughout all this madness, even though they're trying to get ammo and guns and this and that, to defeat the most villainous person, Negan, they're still doing evil. It's crazy how much kind of the line between good versus evil when they're doing kind of despicable acts as well.
I was going to bring the baby up. A really difficult moment seeing that. And, I can only imagine the first person he thought of was Judith, because what is he doing this for, And when he realized that he very well just killed this baby girl's father, and then the name on the wall is Gracie, or Grace, and then the episode is Damned. It is that positive and negative and dark and light and yin and yang. That's what this episode really was. And I have to bring up the struggle of power between Tara and Jesus, because that is exactly what that was.
Oh yeah, I mean this episode was full of that stuff. I mean, you also had, Morgan in this episode. I was just like, wait, first you tell Morgan it's bad to kill, or first you tell Morgan it's good, you have to kill people. Now you're telling Morgan, don't kill these people. Like, poor Morgan. Morgan is just absolutely ripped. Like, he's not in his mindset right now. But you're right. Tara and Jesus, that power struggle, Jesus being wrong about the one guy, telling him he surrendered and then getting taken hostage. And then you have Tara, Tara's kind of, she says, to get the job done, which I agree, you got to get the job done. But it, towards the end of this episode, we see all these, saviors give up and surrender. I mean, it's a crazy, like, they're really kind of playing with that, where what is right, what is wrong, what do we do? Are we still a humane society where we still have laws, we still have rules, or are we barbaric and we have to do doggy sees, doggy has to do. So like Negan's doing, we have to be like Negan in order to defeat Negan. So I mean, it's crazy what this episode kind of presents and what you think about.
Speaking of the saviors, one of the things that I'm still not liking about the saviors, and another thing that I didn't really like about this episode, is the cartoonish characterization of the saviors is very, henchman-like. It's very,
thank you. Yes.
We're so evil. I mean, that guy was cleaning the rifle or whatever, and this one chick was just being absolutely ridiculous, just for the heck of it. And it would be believable for just Negan to have that persona, and everyone is just following the leader because that's who they look up to. That's who gives them supplies. If it weren't for Negan, they wouldn't be in this position that they're in. You know what I mean? He's the male lion in the pride, and that's who they follow. But when that guy was pretending to be scared in the closet, and then he just snaps, and he's just this wicked caricature of a bad guy. I'm kind of over that. I mean, you can have somebody give me a speech on, I mean, look at us. I mean, do you think that we don't have families? Why do you think that we're doing this? And have a realistic conversation. Because if I'm in that position and I've got my family there and someone is breaking in to steal my supplies and my guns, I mean, that's a different conversation. It's not, oh, ho, ho, twirl my mustache. You know what I mean?
Oh no, you hit it right over the head. Because when I was watching that scene, I'm like, when I'm watching the guy who pisses himself and he's acting like he's a victim and all this, I'm kind of hoping he is. I'm kind of hoping that, you know what, maybe this guy, yeah, he's with the saviors, or, you know, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy, you know? He just, I'm just like, I was just crossing my fingers, like, don't do that, you know? Don't, why can't these saviors be actually characters, you know? They probably, why can't they be kind of like the opposite? Not, they don't have to be, like you said, mustache twirling villains. None, all of them don't have to be the same personality as Negan, but they don't get their own personality. They become really such assholes, and they become like, they become, like you said, cartoonish, and that's one of the problems I have with The Walking Dead right now, is exactly what you said, is just these saviors who we don't ever really see. We don't get a view of their like kind of lifestyle. The only one we know is Dwight. The only one we care for is kind of Dwight, because he is kind of like back and forth with it all. It's I agree with you. It kind of pisses me off that that's what we get most of the time with these so-called bad guys.
And I have to say, with all of Negan's talk about PP Pants City, that was the only dude that straight up pissed himself, and he claims he did it on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So you know what? That's why I think if Morales is working with if he is one of the part of the saviors, which I wasn't really too clear of at the end of the episode, but if he is, I was thinking the whole time, like, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome if somehow he actually got brought into the saviors, and he because something happened, you know, something happens along the way. We all have our journeys, and you end up being in the opposite. You know, he found a group, but he just found a group that is more, you know, despicable than a lot of the other groups, but in his eyes it's not. It's the way it is. That's how you survive. That's what I kind of wanted, was hoping for at the end of this episode with Morales, is if that's the case, because that's somebody Rick knows. That's somebody Rick knows he's a good guy. He's a good guy, but he's part of something that's, you know, bad, but, you know, he's still considered a savior. That would be kind of crazy in my eyes.
It's a good twist, and like you said perfectly, he had to have gone through something to get to that point. And here's the thing, you know, the journey you're on and the people that you end up with, in your eyes, you're the good guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
so that's the thing. That's why I don't like these mustache twirling cartoon villains, because if you want to believe that you're on the good side, that's fine. I believe that. I'm okay with that. But just to be an asshole for the sake of it, I don't agree with that.
I think they're showcasing that too, because if they didn't showcase them to be such a cartoonish assholes, they showcase them to be a little bit more just kind of an asshole, but not too much of an asshole, then you got Rick's group. Because in this episode, going back to Tara and Jesus is like, you know, back and forth power struggle. That's exactly what you would think the saviors would be doing too. Because if you think about it, if you were a group outside the saviors and outside Alexandria Hilltop, and you saw Rick's group come your way, and they've done it multiple times in this TV show, where Rick, like the Amazonian, you know, Tara's friend, the Amazonian women, when they take their guns and shit, like, you would view them as the villain. You know, you would view them. They're not as mustache twirling as the saviors, but they're villainous. They're villainous. They still take what they want, even though they left you. You know, they go, oh, well, I'm not going to kill you, but you pretty much already have if you took my weapons and stuff. So, I mean, the definition of villain is it's just portrayed better with Rick's group. I mean, they're known as the good guys because they're not like these saviors, where they're just such cartoonish assholes. And I think that's why they're doing it that way, but it's makes for bad TV.
I already don't like the saviors. You don't have to make me like them. We can use those female saviors, for example, that held Carol and Maggie captive. We didn't like them because they were kind of brash, but they had their reasoning behind it, and we got to see it just in one episode. You know, you don't have to devote a whole episode to these people, but the lines that you are giving them,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
make them
Actually,
a little more
have
realistic, because those women had a purpose and a personality, and they got caught up in a bad spot. They got caught up with two very important hostages in a situation that got out of hand that they couldn't control.
exactly. It's just just give these saviors a little bit of character. Give them. How about you don't have to, like you said, not spend a whole episode on these guys, but why don't we see a little bit of this army? Why don't we see a little bit of this army that's not? I think they have had a couple of times with Eugene and stuff when he got captured, but still they presented them as just like these kind of cartoonish characters, and that's not it makes for more better TV if you kind of really flesh out everybody, good, bad, whatever, just flesh them out.
Yeah. Going into Tara and Jesus, I really felt like Jesus, even though they're the bad guys, I mean, he knows that there's not going to be a whole lot of people left after all this is done. And Tara's position, she just wanted to kill him. But what I found confusing, and this just might be because of my memory, it was she or Jesus that brought up her girlfriend that died, and how Negan killed Abraham and Glenn and her girlfriend, and you loved her. And I'm also pretty sure that there was a scene where she was sitting in the car with Jesus, and she said that she loved her girlfriend, but she didn't mean it.
Ooh, really?
So when that was said in this episode, I was thinking back to that previous other season. I see you sneaking back there.
That's Ren.
Sorry.
Right there. That's Ren.
So I thought back to that episode, and I thought, yeah, but you just had a heart to heart and said that, you told her you loved her, but you didn't mean it.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember that episode, but damn.
I know, it was cold.
That's cold-blooded right there. Shit. I also got to say,
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. But I got to say too, so what made me bust out laughing too, was freaking when Jesus said that Maggie's will listen to me. And then when Tara says, well, yeah, Maggie will listen to you, Rick will listen to me. Like, shut up, Tara. Rick is not going to listen to your ass, dude.
I was in the room with my husband when that line came out. And I'm the kind of person that if I'm having a drink too, I have to have a commentary when I'm watching it. She said that, and I said, who listens to you? I mean, if anyone has Rick's ear, it's Daryl, it's Maggie, it's freaking Stone, it's Morgan. Like, who are you?
Even Jesus still has Rick's ear before Tara.
Who are you?
Like,
because you found that one group of people that one time?
Oh man, I was just like, the whole episode, I'm like, Tara, I never used to hate you before. I thought, like, Tara's doing her little thing, whatever. Now I'm just like, get rid of her. Get rid of Tara already. Like, that line was so ridiculous. Like, did she? I bet she didn't even believe it herself that she said that shit. Like,
I don't
really?
see. That's the thing, and I couldn't tell if she was, bluffing or not. I mean,
she's drunk. She don't know what she's talking about.
But Morgan, that crusade that Morgan went on, before we get into like
the Terminator. The Terminator. Shit.
Before we get into the specifics, I have to talk about this one thing. And like, there are minuscule things in this episode. I actually really did like the episode, but there are minuscule things in it that like kind of made me roll my eyes. So Morgan is laying on the ground, and for a second, we think that he's possibly dead, but I didn't for a second believe that's really how his character died. I was waiting for the fake out. So the camera pans over the guy next to him, and you go over to the side of Morgan's face, and he opens his eyes and everything, and he's laying there looking around. And then just like right next to him, the guy that's supposed to be dead blinks.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I was like, hold on. And I rewound it, and I was like, that motherfucker just blinked.
And then they couldn't get another cut on that, huh? They couldn't
get No. You had to use that take. That's the one you went with.
You know what? I was looking at that scene. Yeah, let's get into Morgan. Because Morgan does, he has his little his little SWAT team with him. Everybody has a purpose in this episode, which is great. Everybody has a
Yes.
mission to do, a little mission. So Morgan has a little mission to take out some of these guys, and he's with two other guys. He's with the crew. He gets shot up. Like you said, that scene, he's laying on the floor. I'm looking at motherfucker 1, and he's riddled with bullets. And then they pan out to motherfucker 2, and he's riddled with bullets. And you see Morgan, that dude is fine. That dude's little foil cans all over his body, somehow protecting him from being riddled with bullets. Not a scratch on him. Goes out, just starts killing everybody after that. I mean, that kind of like made me go, what? I knew you were going to live, Morgan, but come on. Like, come on. Your ass should be dead right now.
The thing that I find interesting, and I don't want to get too into like the realist stuff with it, but I mean, if I pulled up my Google Maps right now, I can find 4 military surplus stores within a 20-mile radius. Where is all of that stuff? Where is like all this real gear? I think they're running around with like, it looks like they're playing laser tag.
Yes. This episode made me think that this was a paintball competition or something. Yeah. Especially with Aaron and his crew fighting everybody else, and then it's going pew 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 pew. Like it looked like paintballing, man. It looked like an obstacle course paintballing. So I was like, I mean, like you said, and like I said, there's some good things about this. I enjoyed this episode, but it's just, there's things about this episode that still just like that's kind of sloppy, or this could have been done better this way, or what the hell was that all about kind of shit.
I wasn't really impressed with the tiger special effects in this episode.
No, especially with the firing of the guns, just looked very fake and very phony. The only thing I was impressed, of course, always is the walkers. I thought the walker makeup was still good, except one walker looked a little CGI'd, but I mean, still looked good. Shiva looked hella CGI'd, so, but it is what it is. I mean, you can't get a real tiger in there.
The motion for that is very difficult. The shots where she's laying, especially God in the beginning few episodes of like The Well, for example, of season 7, that episode, she looked fantastic. But yeah, moving in here, anytime you do motion, if you don't have HBO's budget, it's not going to be that great. So I'm willing to let that go. I just find it hard to believe that this tiger understands the difference between who she can kill and who she can't kill.
Yeah, it's a line. There's a line between that. I mean, it's of course done better in the comics how they use her, but it is still it's a stretch to actually believe that Ezekiel is able to command Shiva like this. But I mean, Ezekiel, himself, like he himself is a very over the top character, where I think a lot of people could either really hate him or like him. For me, the best thing about this episode and the best thing so far about The Walking Dead for me is Ezekiel as a character. I really like this character. He's smiling, even though he still want to charge in when they know that they're coming. It's just like there's something about this. I think this actor's really killing it as Ezekiel. He's really bringing this character, which I saw in the comic book, really to life in a TV series. And I think they did they did a fantastic job casting this guy for Ezekiel. I think he's doing a better job in portraying who this character is from the comic than, I'm sorry to say, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the comic as Negan.
What did you think about the little conversation between Carol and Ezekiel? Because, she's changed significantly over, the last, season and 2 episodes. So him saying, I have to put on the face that, everything, that's what you do as a leader, and what did you think about that conversation?
With tonight's episode, right? With Carol and Ezekiel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going through the woods and they're on their way to their destination.
And how it's smiling, and you know, why are you always smiling? All that stuff.
Yeah, why are you always smiling? But I was like, Carol, I understand who you are, but don't be a Debbie Downer.
I know Carol's been such a Debbie Downer. I think because I mean, with Carol, I guess she deserves it because of her character and how much shit she has really been through. I mean, she's probably the most tragic character in the series so far, along with Rick. But Rick still has his son. Carol doesn't have Sophia. Carol has really nobody except maybe just the crew she was with the whole time. Um, I like it. I still think they have great chemistry together. I like the conversation they had. And it was a little cheesy though towards the end, where he's like drawing his sword and he's like, oh, he's smiling and he's going, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, my God, that's really cheesy. But with Carol and Ezekiel's relationship, I think that's one of the bright spots of The Walking Dead too. It's really they really play really good off each other because Carol is such a Debbie Downer and Ezekiel's so happy and so optimistic, and I think there might be a romance there. I won't lie to you. I think they might go that route with it.
If it does happen, I'm all for it.
I know how much you ship that Daryl and Carol. Taylor, it's over. It's over.
I do agree that it's over. Now, the point that I'm at right now, though, Dan, is, new relationships don't matter to me as much. I'm not for, the romance and everything like that. I'm just for seeing a real good story. And we were talking about last week, okay, all the weapons and ammo and when are they gonna run out eventually. So I was appreciative to see a mission of restocking.
But how do they still have
found that
ammo? How do they still have all that ammo to go for this mission? That's what I was thinking of.
Well, it kind of brought it to our attention that it's not infinite.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that mission to be able to restock. But I think they did make a promise to Oceanside that when they were done with their guns, they had to bring them back.
That is true. That's true. I think they did as well. Been a long time.
Yeah. Did they get charged depreciation?
Yeah, it's not like you could just take all the time in your world, Rick. I mean, they probably still need those guns for, to survive. You never know what's going to happen with Oceanside.
Well, I'm interested now in knowing if Rick is going to be able to figure out Morales and if they're going to be able to, if it's not salvageable, this new interaction, or if Morales is going to be that one on the inside to convince the saviors, not all the saviors, because we have those cartoonish ones, but the other saviors, that there might be a way for us to work together, like the Kingdom and Hilltop with Rick's group, and then have those people be able to keep their sanctuary, their livelihood, just, under somebody who's going to have not only their best interest, but, working together is better than just being out for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because we don't know. I don't think nobody knew that Morales was going to show up in this episode. If they did, well, because they're really hardcore Walking Dead fans. But I don't know if this is going to be a short term. I don't know if it's going to be a long term. I don't know if it's just for this episode or the next episode he's going to get popped in the head. Don't know exactly what Morales' role is in all this. And that's the fact. That's why I think this episode really kind of jolted me and made me really want to talk about it, was because of Morales' appearance. We don't know what lies ahead. That's why it's getting me a little excited for next week's episode, until I actually probably sit down and watch it. And then it's probably a whole episode of just Negan and Gabriel talking about God and talking about how to escape and talking about sin.
If we get a bottle episode next episode, I'll be kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, the Walking Dead is known to build a lot of hype and then kind of really just kind of crush it down a little bit.
I mean, I don't think it would completely revolve around them, but I could foresee 75% of it being devoted to that. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think Gabriel still had his gun when he ran into that storage unit, and Negan still had just his bat. So these are
Yeah.
questions that I ask myself when I'm watching this episode. It's like, he is right in front of you again.
Shoot him.
Shoot him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? You just gotta keep watching, I guess. It's a chore, but you gotta keep watching. Um, yeah, but you know what? Like, yeah, like, but by all means, this was a better episode than last episode. That's the thing. It just had a lot more going on. I mean, I knew it was predictable. I knew Aaron's boyfriend was gonna get shot. I did like though how they were killing off a lot of the saviors, and then they were, the saviors returning, and then they're eating all the comrades and stuff. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I liked that. I didn't see that coming. So when I saw that happen, I was, you saw Aaron. He was about to shoot his weapon off, and he realized that, and he's like, okay, hold on. So that's the kind of decision making that I would believe. Save your bullets, because now you got their own saviors that have just turned, because you can imagine that shootout went on for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
It looked like they were holding up for quite a while, at least in their real time. So I would have believed that. And, just preserving your resources and allowing them to do the work was nice. And then, Daryl found himself back in the cells, and he opened a cell to find, handcuffs and a dog food sandwich. And he kind of just was brought back into that repressed memory.
We do not need Daryl to be depressed anymore. We do not need that. No, Daryl, do not look at that. We need him to come back to, like, my OG Daryl, like, start talking shit, riled up again. But I don't know when we're gonna get that again. But yeah, I mean, yeah, with Daryl, he had very little screen time, but it was good to see him and Rick working together a little bit in this episode.
My husband even brought it up in this episode, that he's not getting used very well. I still don't feel like that's the case at all. I'm sure there's going to be a time, but I can't sit around and wait for those moments. We're in all-out war now, so things are going to have to happen, and the time for character development is really not what this season is going to be focused on. Which there's definitely times and places you can develop in any situation, but they're going to devote this entire season to the war.
Yeah, and they really try to showcase that in this episode with a lot of gunplay, a lot of gunfire. It's just, I think they dropped the ball with this episode because, I get it, the budget and everything, but the direction, I'm just really, like, appalled on the direction, because a lot of these shots and a lot of, I mean, the one shot was a shot before this one good shot. This one good shot, for example, was the two guys standing in front of the door, and then you see their blood splatter onto the window, and then it's Rick coming in. I thought that was a great shot.
Yeah,
I
agree.
And then you have shots, though, where it's really close up to these actors, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, and they're shooting their guns, but it looks so, like, really phony and fake, and it just doesn't look appealing. It looks like a Sci-Fi Channel kind of show where don't have it so close up, pull it back a little bit, do some stretch the field a little bit. I really feel like the camera work in this episode was one of the worst I've seen. For when it comes to, like, I love movies and stuff, and I look for direction. I see, some of these shots and what they do. I just feel like this episode really dropped the ball in showcasing the all-out war of, gunplay. I think the director who did this episode doesn't really necessarily know how to do action sequences. And for example, what I'm talking about is, look at tonight's episode and look at a lot of the gunplay and the gun, the use of guns, the camera work to showcase these characters using the guns and not make them look so phony and cheap, and maybe some shots to make it look actually like a Breaking Bad type kind of show with the cinematography involved of it. And the cinematography wasn't that great in this episode too. And look at action sequences like, let's say, with gunplay, of course, John Wick, the movie John Wick. But not only that, look at action sequences like Game of Thrones and Battle of the Bastards, that type of stuff. And I'm not saying it, like the budget is nowhere near close, but you could still experiment. And I felt like this was just kind of lazy direction in this episode. And sometimes the cinematography, the lighting was really great. I believe it was the one shot with Rick in when he was actually getting up to the where the crib was. But then sometimes the cinematography out in the open, like with Aaron, looked really paintball tournament style.
The answer that I think I have for that is the people that are responsible for, okay, so all these extras that they use, the people they have responsible for preparing those extras for those scenes, I don't feel like they're, really utilizing these extras and having, just doing the proper direction and training for those scenes for these extras, because I understand that not everyone is a, tactical expert, but just taking the time to, teach somebody, when you're in a group and you've got Rick and Daryl in front, like you just said, the scene where the two guys blood splattered, Rick and Daryl come in and there's like 4 or 5 people behind them. They're walking in several feet and then holding their weapon up for a second and dropping it back down before the scene cuts. And it's like, all right, so we're not gonna walk in with our weapons held up. We're just gonna hold them up for a second and drop it back down. I feel like those are the reasons why some things are feeling fake for you, besides the shots, besides the direction, and just taking the time to even train these extras that are being the walkers. I feel like the walkers that they were using in previous seasons, they really went through the time to really sit and talk to them and let them know how they wanted them to move and how they wanted to act. And now it seems like, they put them in the makeup chair for 6 hours and they just let them out there on the set. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It really feels like you're walking into a Halloween Horror Nights maze. That's what it feels like to me. Where somebody's going, come on, hurry. Like that's what the action sequences and a lot of this what happened in this episode really felt like to me. And you're right. I mean, it's on the crew, it's on the team who's doing all this. This is why shows are more superior than other shows, because they take the time to really
put in those details. And I understand why you feel like things are fake, because all of the metal sheets that they have attached to the vehicles that Rick's group are using right now, they're not at all bulletproof. That is sheet metal. It's kind of like what you would use to roof a tool shed or something like that. So when I see bullets hitting these sheets of metal, the special effects that they're using in post makes it look like it's, you see the spark and it's almost like the bullets ricocheting off. There's no bullet holes being popped in any of these, and that takes me out of it because I know that that's not bulletproof metal.
Yeah, I mean, it's the little details, and you sometimes you really got to focus on those little details to make the show even just make the show a classic, to make the show worth watching. Make it the show something that everybody's going to talk about forever. I guess the best example is like if Into the Badlands could have better action sequences and better shots being done. I'm talking about like season 1 of Into the Badlands,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not even the #1 AMC show. The Walking Dead by far is the #1 show, and they don't even have nowhere near the budget. And you're telling me Into the Badlands could do this better than your #1 show? There's a problem. Of course, Into the Badlands focuses more on martial arts, swordplay, and stuff. But shit, man, you're just kind of using guns. You're not focusing on martial arts and stuff. I mean, it's actually kind of harder for that than this. So I don't get it. I don't get it's well, I kind of get it. I kind of get that they're cheap and they don't want to, spend the time. It's all about budget. It's all about, trying to squeeze that dollar, but come on, man. I mean, these AMC, they need to like realize like, The Walking Dead's it's on those last legs. It's not as popular as it used to be. if you're gonna go out with a bang. And you know, I'm not saying that this is like the 2 more seasons it's over, because we don't know. They're the only ones that know. But this is why this show is dipping, is because they're not showcasing those little details. This is why shows like Breaking Bad. This is shows like, yeah, Breaking Bad has stood the end of time, or Game of Thrones even.
In season 7, when they were, Rick was battling with the decision to even move against Negan, we were given an idea. What's her name that is in charge of the supplies? She ended up dying, but
Wasn't it Olivia?
yes, exactly. So with Olivia's character, we got to see the exact, I guess, dire circumstances of their living situation. So supplies were incredibly low. Their gun stores, it was decent, but it wasn't fabulous for the amount of people living in Alexandria. And with what we knew they had left for supplies in that season before they decided to mobilize against Negan, I mean, what is everyone really living off of now? I mean, even Hilltop was hit in season 7 again several times by Negan. The kingdom was always giving away their supplies. I mean, everyone is just really supposed to be on their last line of supplies, and
Yeah.
this taking so long to get this job done. I mean, what are these people back at home not fighting, living off of? And I have to bring up the solar panels in Alexandria again, because I mean, coming, from Maine in the woods, and I've lived with a generator for electricity. I mean, there's only so much that you can really use solar power for. There's
Yeah.
really only so much it can do. I don't know. And then Maggie growing the food, and the food grew super fast, but it's supposed to be able to feed everyone, that small little garden that they had.
Yeah.
I'm getting lost in the real plans. And how long did it take them to even develop that plan?
Exactly. I mean, it's of course it's they may showcase some of this in future episodes.
After all
Um,
out war.
yeah. And you're right. The most important thing about war too is rations. You see this in movies. You see this. I mean, it's in life. It's in life in general, where you got to focus on like these little things. But The Walking Dead, their main objective is just to kind of like showcase a lot of gunplay, like tonight. Showcase who's the bad guys, who the good guys, hurrah, hurrah, speeches, have a little bit of zombies in there. The one thing that I took away from this episode is that when I was watching it, and I think it was like towards the middle of it, I'm just like kind of sitting there watching this, and I'm like, I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I was enjoying some of the aspect, but I was kind of scratching my head on a lot of things. But I was sitting there, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel apocalyptic to me. Just
No,
nowhere
it doesn't.
near.
That was what I was feeling with Alexandria, because I mean, all of those houses just look incredibly immaculate. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like it's completely untouched, and there's gonna be times where the roofs might need repairs, but you don't have people capable of doing that, or the equipment to do it, and there's no leaks in people's houses. Everything's perfect. All the lawns are manicured and just looking fabulous, and it's a utopia. uh,
It's not. It's not exactly what I thought it was gonna. I thought they did a good job in like the early on seasons with that apocalyptic feeling, but as we keep going, I don't care if it's still human versus human instead of human versus zombie. There should be. It still should have that feeling. It should still have that setting, that mood, and I'm not getting that.
I just want to know why there's not different side missions going on, because regardless if you're in all out war or not, I mean, no one's trying to find farm animals. No one is trying to, find other ways to, if we get past this, are we going to be in a good spot afterwards? Because, if it doesn't matter if we win, if, we've not done anything to ensure that we have even stuff that we can start trading with our new allies and things like that. And I mean, there's still no junkyard people. What were they good for other than to just turn and have a twist ending in season 7?
Not only that, now that I'm thinking about it, so they raid this compound, right? Because they have ammo and guns and stuff. They raid the main compound where Negan was, and clearly it was, of course, it was overrun by walkers and stuff. But clearly Rick saw Negan pinned down. What you know what? There's a VR experience too on Facebook, just to let you guys know, where you could actually, it's on Facebook and you go on there, and on your phone you can go left to right, and it goes from Negan and it switches to Gabriel, and it has them like outlasting these walkers and pinpointing to when they get stuck in that trailer, right? So there's a VR experience. It's actually pretty cool. So not bad. But if I'm Rick and I'm like, this motherfucker is still there. Like, he had nobody, he had no backup. He had nobody to like, this is the guy. This is the main guy. You kill this guy, the war's over pretty much. Like, in my mind right now, it's just like, how are you not going back to finish the job? Like, don't focus on the guns, focus on Negan.
I realize that they're taking out all their scouts, and when there was that girl who was on the walkie and she was calling these lookouts names and they weren't responding, and it came clear that they were about to be overrun just like the other little outposts or whatever. No one found it worth mentioning that we don't have to waste all our bullets. You don't have to lose people. This is what happened to the compound, and all these walkers came in and overran everything. Negan's in a really bad spot. And
they don't even know Negan's alive. The saviors don't even know Negan's alive. They probably know that the compound was raided, but Negan, well, I guess they'll explain it maybe next episode. Maybe it's a different timeline and stuff. But Negan's with Gabriel right now, surrounded by walkers. So no, Simon's not there. Nobody's there to help him. Everybody at this point presumes he's dead. So like, it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, there that Rick kind of, like I said, I get he's going for the ammo and stuff, but like, finish the job, dude. Finish the job, or at least say that Negan's dead. Something.
Yeah. I want to know what happened to all the civilians in the compound. I want to know, did that entire horde just completely take out all those people, or did
it look like it?
Or did Negan evacuate them? I don't know.
Yeah, because at the timeline might be a little bit different. Like, where maybe they already know that Negan's alive, and then Rick. I don't know. That's why it was so confusing.
Yeah.
In this episode, where they're just like taking out this. I get it. Okay, they're getting guns and stuff, but okay, you're doing this. But so is Negan alive? Do you know that Negan's alive? Like, do they know that Negan's dead, or are they still fighting back? Like, what is going on? What is going on with everything? This is very confusing to me.
I want to know what Dwight's purpose is going to be moving forward for the rest of the season. I also really want to know, because Dwight was the one who provided Rick with all of this information to even make this possible. And that's something that I didn't mention in the last breakdown we did. When Negan's out there with Eugene and Gregory and Dwight standing there too, Dwight didn't pull a gun on Negan and say, look, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, Dwight could have killed him. Dwight could have killed him right there on the spot too.
Because that was his whole reason for turning, was what happened with Sherry.
That's the only I mean, good. We could just knock this so much.
I know we keep saying that we liked this episode better than the last, but it can't just fix.
Yeah, it still has so much holes in it. It's still very confusing on some of the motives that what these guys are doing. It's still very, especially the last episode, really confusing how Negan is still alive. Um, this, but I guess because I like this episode so much is because they're actually there's a war kind of happening. We had we did have people finally dying instead of windows. We had some smart strategy here and there. What I liked about this episode but the most though was we finally have a character, a refreshing old face come to play, and us not knowing, us actually caring enough to care for the character to come back, and us wanting to know what this leads to in the next episode.
See,
So,
that's
in
the
the
kind
future.
of like shocking reveal that I like. I don't like these ridiculous try
Yeah.
to be shock factors. Like this is a legitimate thing that I'm interested in
Yeah,
because no one expected this to happen. You have no idea what his motives are. You have no idea what his presence means going forward. It's a complete question mark.
yeah, and Morales is a character where he's not big, but he's a big enough character to really care for him, especially when he was only there for like season 1. So he's a character that I think a lot of people are just like, um, they're definitely on board. A lot of people have been wanting this. A lot of people wanted to know what happened to this guy, and it's such a great reveal, and it's such a great way to bring him back, especially at this point since The Walking Dead has so much wrong with it. This is actually one of the positives to bringing them back because you could do a lot with it.
There's a balance. I mean, I totally commend them for not copying the comics, page by page, but there's a balance between adding something new and, doing comic book stuff. And Morales is one of those things.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people are just kind of like a smile to the face, because it circles back to a season where I, in my opinion, has the best balance out of all the seasons in balancing the comic books material with their own material. I still think season 1 is the best season, and the reason being is because it was more storytelling and characters, and it shows because everybody still, Morales is a secondary, not even a secondary character, and yet still people care about this character and care about what this means for everything moving forward.
I mean, I'm kind of at a loss. I really am. I just, I guess one thing that I kind of really empathized with Morgan about was he saw the long-haired guy that killed that boy.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up. I thought Morgan was going to kill that guy.
I thought he was too. And this is one of the things that I value Jesus for, because he could have very easily have been Hilltop's leader, but he didn't want it. He absolutely has that ability. And
Yeah,
people would follow him. They would. But he didn't want it. And there are situations where you have to try to really de-escalate things, and you have to kind of, okay, I'm not a leader, but in this situation, I have to kind of step up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And try to really kind of lower the body count to some extent. And Morgan, he was ready. He was ready to kill him.
Morgan is in Morgan's he's always like either lost or just like, or he found something but then he's lost again, like poor Morgan. Morgan's a pretty tragic character, especially losing his son.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Jesus, I like how this was pretty much Jesus's episode too, because a lot of things he was saying is the humane, the right way. These guys surrender. We take them prisoner. We don't kill. Just if we kill them just like that, we are no better than Negan. And that harkens back to when, even though Rick, the guy attacked Rick killed this guy, but there was a deeper meaning of that scuffle where Rick just killed him, didn't even like ask him questions or anything like that, and then we find out that there's a baby involved and stuff. So,
and Rick really beat himself up about it once he realized that. He regretted not taking a step back And when Rick is, kind of choking him, the guy, he's trying to speak, but you can't really,
Yeah.
hear what he's saying. And then he just throws him into the wall.
In a
It's
brutal way, yeah. In like a
brutal.
Mortal
Oh my
Kombat kind of
gosh.
way. Yeah, shit.
Very brutal. So with the baby's presence, it just kind of, that's what makes me wonder about the rest of the saviors. And I don't even want to call them saviors. They're just the civilians of that area. Because Rick was saying, it's not about me. It's not about, in the last episode, he was like, oh, it's not about me. Because they were like, should we wait for Gabriel? It's not about you, Rick. It's about the bigger picture. And one of my favorite lines, I can't remember the season. Maybe it was season 4. I think it was season 4. That famous line, "We are the Walking Dead," meaning the living.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what matters, is the remaining living, unaffected people.
I will say though, the comic books did that scene way better.
There's,
I'm sorry, Taylor. I'm just like, they did that way because I read the comics. It's like they did it way better. I thought you were gonna say your favorite line was Rick will listen to me, and then Tara coming back. Or no, Rick, Jesus saying Maggie will listen. I have Maggie's ear, then Tara coming back saying, "Well, I have Rick's ear."
that was absolute bullshit.
I love that. I think I'm gonna make a T-shirt on that with Tara's face right there. Oh, Tara.
Like when? You mean the time that you discovered another group of people, and then you promised them you wouldn't tell anyone, and then you broke your promise?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that Tara.
And you didn't tell Rick, if you were gonna break your promise, you didn't tell him sooner when it was kind of crucial to everybody. After you lost some more people, you lost Olivia and Denise, and kind of just didn't say anything.
Oh man, when Tara dies, I wouldn't care. I'm not going to care at all. I just don't care anymore.
I would not be surprised if she didn't die.
What if she's probably going to be the lone survivor of everything.
We have to lose characters like Sasha, and we have to lose characters like T-Dog, and I mean, like, I'm just like wrapping my head around
Tara. Why is she still here? Yeah. The world may never know until she says something on Talking Dead. So yeah, tonight's episode, you know what? It was a doozy. It was some good elements here and there. Like I think the best thing was the big reveal that Morales is back. It's just a great it's just a great old familiar face. I really did enjoy a lot. I don't want to say a lot of aspects of the episode. I did enjoy aspects of the episode. I really think they dropped the ball on a lot of things here and there, especially direction and cinematography wise. But it's a better step than last episode, and it was more entertaining than I think it was a little bit more entertaining than last episode, honestly.
I liked the purpose of this episode. I liked the mission. I liked the struggle between good and bad.
Yeah, the meaning of the whole episode, and the characters really struggling on that.
I liked the pacing. I thought the pacing was good.
Pacing was good. Pacing was good. The editing, I still think, needs to be better. I think the not play it straight kind of editing of storytelling is just them kind of jumbling a lot of the scenes here and there and then kind of explaining it towards the end. I don't necessarily agree on. It was like last episode where we had different timelines. It was just kind of a mess, and I felt like this episode was still kind of a mess. But the pacing, you're right, kept me engaged throughout the whole episode, good or bad. So, but yeah, Taylor, I mean, do you think this is a step to the right direction of maybe having really good ass episodes coming for moving forward?
I do think this is a good step forward. This episode, it really gave me hope, and I really am looking forward to next Sunday's episode. And I think something that happens behind the scenes that isn't discussed a lot by the producers and everyone behind the scenes is I think some decisions happen last minute. I think a lot of things are happening, maybe last minute script changes, or even in the editing room. I think I would like to know what happens on the cutting floor. I would like to know what makes them make the decisions that they're making, because I'm starting to feel like they're last minute decisions. In season 7, for example, the episodes, The Cell and The Well, were supposed to be switched in order. The order was swapped for some reason. So, I mean, I think Daryl's episode should have been before Carol's episode, and they ended up wanting to showcase the kingdom first.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I'm just wondering what's happening behind the scenes that maybe is making us see and feel these certain things. But this episode, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling okay going forward.
I'm feeling pretty good going forward. I'm feeling like, there's some good things that's going to come out of this. I'll tell you right now, behind the scenes, I think they're in a panic. I think AMC knows that this is a dying kind of show. Still putting up numbers. Don't get me wrong, still putting up good numbers, but it's just not appealing to people anymore. And a lot of people left. Which I didn't think was going to happen after Glenn's death. But because Negan is not comic book Negan version, I think that's what turned a lot of people off.
See, this is one of those shows that if something is not really holding your attention, and maybe you don't tune in for 1 or 2 Sundays, then you might forget about it, and you might not immediately return to it. And then before you know it, you're 2 seasons behind.
Most definitely.
You're 2 seasons behind, and you're like, well, you're asking your buddy, should I pick it up? And they're like, yeah, okay, just pick it up. So you go back when it's on the off season, and you catch all the way up by binge watching. And it's just something that you could comfortably drop off. I mean, I dropped off in the middle of season 3, not necessarily because it wasn't holding my attention, but things came up, and I just wasn't able to stay in all the episodes. And before I knew it, I was behind. It was like season 4, and I had to watch a season and a half before season 5 aired.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I think that's what it is. I think I have talked to so many people who try to get into The Walking Dead and are able to binge watch it on Netflix, and they try, but it doesn't hold their attention. It gets boring. It's too dramatic. It's this and that. Every single person I talk to who tried to get into The Walking Dead says the same thing. So I think that's the problem. That's the problem with The Walking Dead, is that if you don't have solid seasons, and if you don't have solid episodes going, you have to play it like you're going to work or something like that. You have
longevity. It hurts the longevity. So I mean, us in real time, when we're waiting a week between episodes in real time. So that wait in itself is kind of annoying. Because especially if you didn't get what you wanted the last week, just having to wait another week to find out if you're going to be okay, if you're going to be happy, or if you're going to be disappointed, is hard. But then imagine somebody who, they're looking for a show to watch on Netflix, and they see a show that, people that they know have talked about, and they're kind of thinking about starting it, but it's 7 seasons. You're like, oh, do I really want to start something that's 7 seasons?
And they're almost hour-long episodes.
I've wanted to start Shameless for so long, but it's like I probably would really love it if I sat down and watched it. But when you look at it on a screen on Netflix, it's intimidating. And if it doesn't have this good track record, if your friends aren't like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to watch this show right now. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, same with Narco.
You're going to love it. And, if nobody in your life is telling you to do that, then you're not going to pick it up.
I have to tell you then, Taylor, after Narcos, you got to watch Shameless.
I get intimidated by that number. And Walking Dead is a good example of, if you get a season or 2 into it, and then there's a season that, you're just like, okay.
season
And then you
7.
don't pick it back up. And then you just don't keep going.
Walking Dead is a chore. It's a chore to watch, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that it is the greatest show on earth because it's not. It's not the greatest show on earth. It's you know, we're in season 8, and then we're in episode 2, and we're looking. We're trying to have some good conversation, good talk about
We
The
would
Walking Dead.
love to sit here
And
and
just,
say all kinds of great things. It's not that we're just in people that you can't impress and people that you can't make happy. I've fallen in love with shows that I absolutely rave about. I mean, my channel's dedicated to one show, but
yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
I would love to sit here and just say that that premiere was awesome. I mean, and then tonight's episode, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with all my time until next Sunday. You know what I mean? And just be on the edge of my seat. I don't want to sit here and talk about these minuscule things and how I noticed that a guy that was supposed to be dead blinked. And then nobody in the editing room caught that.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. I got to go back and watch that now.
I noticed it immediately.
Oh man!
I had a drink, and I was like, "What? What was that?"
That motherfucker! He just blinked. He's
I
looking
know
at
you
the
ain't
camera.
dead. Stop playing.
You know what? Exactly. There was an episode last season that I absolutely loved, and I know a lot of people didn't love it. And that was the season premiere of the season 7 of The Walking Dead. I really loved the episode. I thought AMC had balls to kill off 2 characters. I thought the introduction of Jeffrey Dean Morgan was great. I thought the chemistry between him and Rick were great. But you know what? After that, it went to shit. But I want to be that way. I want to really be hyped. I want to, be up late at night talking 3 hours about a crazy ass episode like I did in season 7 of the premiere. But no, I can't because honestly, yes, this got me a little bit happy, but it's still not doing its job to keep me from saying this is kind of a chore to watch now.
How would you have felt if tonight's episode was the premiere? I mean, what if they went on this mission and were taking out the outpost to get guns, and then in the next episode roll up on Negan?
Oh yeah,
would
have loved it. Would have loved it. Would have loved it if they would have. That would have been great. By all means, this is not a season premiere par episode because I still think the direction was shit. But that order around that definitely would be way better. Would be way better. But do they do it? No, because Scott Gimple is an idiot. I said it. Hashtag not. But
he's gonna take us out. He's gonna be like, I've had it with these 2 guys behind the computers just talking shit about me.
Give me it. Give me the series. Give me, man. If somebody were to tell me, "Well, if you think you could do it better," yeah, I can. Give me. I will show you. Of course, I'm not, a big time or anything. I didn't, succeed in school to get in there. But you give me that, and you give me one opportunity, one day, I will turn this shit around. I will make sure that boat floats. So,
a lot of things that I find hard is certain moments of dialogue. Dialogue is a very hard thing to write.
Yeah, it is. It's it takes really talented people to really kind of like make it memorable. Yeah. Have that balance between memorable, realistic, but a little bit something you never heard before. And, like everybody's like my writing teacher used to always say, write down whatever you hear or see in your everyday life, because there might be somebody who says something you never heard before. Write it down. You could probably use it as a script or whatever.
I mean, some of the most amazing authors known today do extensive, like real social experiments almost, kind of just go out there and, Stephen King has done this, just kind of go out there and just do or say something and see what somebody says or responds, just to know what a real situation that you're trying to put on paper would be like in real life.
Yeah. The more we live in a time where realism is everything, where before, like in the 90s and early 2000s, and even the 80s, where realism when it comes to film, TV, or whatever wasn't that big of a deal. It was just kind of like, because cinema is not that old. It's actually, it's old, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
kind of new. Um, with so we live in this time where everything has to be realistic, and as much as I want to turn my brain off for The Walking Dead in some of their conversations and some of the things they do and they present, we live in a time where we want realism because we
Yeah.
just evolved like that.
And I have to say, to everyone listening, this is where Dan and I are coming from. So the situations and the dialogue we get in Game of Thrones, we know to expect that. It's a fantasy, right? And it's not just like your typical medieval tale, right? It's got magic and dragons and all that stuff. So the things that are said and the things that are done, we've talked about some not great episodes of Game of Thrones here too, as much as we fucking love Game of Thrones.
Last season had a lot of things that we could have nitpicked the shit out
of. But it fits. So while this Walking Dead is a sci-fi, type deal, it's supposed to be set in our type of universe at the same time. While the walker thing and the zombie thing is the science fiction part of it, everything else is grounded in reality. So that's the problem that we have when we sit here and we pick apart all these things, because this isn't a fantasy.
Yeah.
While it's sci-fi, it's the majority of it, 90% of it is grounded in reality.
Most definitely. Yeah, exactly. Most definitely. And if you want examples, go watch Breaking Bad and go watch Better Call Saul. Another AMC show. Don't even don't even look like what they're doing or whatever. Just listen to them. Listen to that dialogue, and Vince Gilligan nails it. That's why Better Call Saul, as much of it's, I love this show, it should be boring as shit. It should be boring. There shouldn't be nothing to it. But because of the dialogue and because of the interactions and how realistic and how many twists and turns it goes from those dialogue and conversations, it's engaging. And if you want more an example, why don't you just listen to Quentin Tarantino one time and he'll tell you how he does his writing.
I find it very interesting that on one hand, you can have the same network produce something like Breaking Bad, and on the other hand, then that network produces The Walking Dead, and it's a completely different experience. Like you said it felt like a sci-fi channel thing, and it's starting to feel like that it probably belonged on the Sci-Fi Channel. I mean, AMC has really done some amazing things. I loved Hell on Wheels when Hell on Wheels was on AMC. I mean, it's incredible some of the stuff that they can do. And FX, the same thing has happened. They've produced things like Sons of Anarchy, The Strain. I want to start Snowfall eventually. The Shield. Fargo, absolutely. There's something that can be learned from past projects and current projects, and what really gets these people going. Especially, I mean, Breaking Bad is another show that's grounded more in reality, and you just need to take those realistic elements and put them into the moments that are supposed to be realistic.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem I have with this episode again, was just because of, just little things here and there. I mean, it's the little details too. But Walking Dead, they could do it. I really think it's Scott Gimple kind of holding a lot of these people back, or holding it is, some of the blame is on him, but then of course AMC themselves. But The Walking Dead by far is capable of doing it, and proof is like the earlier seasons. It had better, stronger dialogue and writing, and even cinematography, direction. Wow, this shouldn't be a problem in season 8, but this episode is what it is. It's either I really don't think it was the worst episode of all time. I really don't think it was last week's episode. I think it was a step to the right direction, but Walking Dead has done this before, where they go, you get a little bit of hope, and then it kind of there's a snooze fest next weekend. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I am optimistic about Morales. I am optimistic about more war going on. Just maybe a better director directing a lot of these action sequences, but we'll see. We'll see. We're gonna talk about it again, Taylor, next weekend. See if anything good comes out of this. And most likely we will probably see Negan next weekend too.
Yeah, I'm expecting it now. I
But
have to say real quick before we go,
yeah,
there's this little like snippet, it's called like Red Machete, that they were putting in during the commercials for the episodes. Season 7 did something like that too. They had this little mini story called Passage that they were putting in. I want to know, because I don't give a shit about that. I want to know why you're putting time and money into something that's going to play during commercials. And if somebody has a paid subscription where they cannot see commercials, they're not going to watch it. If somebody DVRs The Walking Dead, they're going to fast forward. If somebody watches it on Netflix, they'll have never seen it. So why are you wasting your time? I can tell by looking at it, it's not that expensive to do, but you're taking time to do that during the commercial break. Why?
yeah. I think I don't know. I guess they're borrowing from, because the one time I saw them doing that was when it all started was Fear the Walking Dead for season 1. So apparently, I guess they liked what happened there, and they want to bring it over for The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Honesty's good, Taylor. Honesty's good.
It's like you could have just thrown that little handful of cash onto, the editing floor, and we could have got some bullet holes in those metal sheets.
Yeah, shit, man. Why don't you get some of that cash? Hire some more writers. Hire some actually legit writers sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. I mean, we talked everything we needed to talk about this episode. Like I said, next episode, hopefully it takes advantage of what this episode kind of presents, because there's some good things about it. Taylor, what kind of videos should we expect from your channel, and where can we find you on your channel?
You can find me at the Theokayesttaylor YouTube channel, and I have a Mayans MC update coming out tomorrow. We will be looking at behind the scenes photos from day of filming 4 and 6, I believe, of the pilot reshoot for the Mayans MC, and things are moving right along on that front. I'll be working on comic book readings for this Saturday, and I will be talking about the pros and cons of a First 9 movie if that were to be made.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's a doozy.
So I've been catching up with a lot of my TV shows, especially the anime that I have been missing. So you're going to be expecting more videos this coming week of everything I'm caught up. So Dragon Ball Z Super, I know a lot of people have been waiting for that. So I'm going to get my thoughts on Goku's new transformation. But the good thing is I'm almost done with Stranger Things 2. So I can't wait to do a full-on review of Stranger Things 2 for you guys. And Thor Ragnarok next week. So on Friday, I'll have a Thor Ragnarok review out for you guys. So I want to thank Taylor for once again joining me. Always joining me on the Dead Walking Sundays. It's always great to at least just talk about what's happening. What may happen, what has happened, and whether Tara's gonna die sooner or later.
I do. It's I would like us to be able to have an episode that really makes us form predictions, but we're just not able to really foresee anything with these couple episodes. So I'm hoping that changes next Sunday, and we'll be left with something that really makes us form some predictions.
Mm-hmm. And I will also be doing some other Walking Dead videos. I have some ideas in mind, especially for the comics. If you guys are still sticking with the comics, it's going a new direction, which is actually very exciting, and we'll see what's going to happen there. But all right, Taylor, I want to thank you for joining me, and for we're talking some Walking Dead tonight.
I appreciate being on here. It's always a pleasure.
I want to thank everybody who's been listening to this spoiler review of The Damned from The Walking Dead episode 2 of season 8. And yeah, we will be here next weekend chatting up on what happens and what that big reveal of Morales means. So I just can't wait to see what they do with that character. So thank you guys until we talk more The Walking Dead. I'll see you guys later. Me and Taylor are out.